Hello and welcome to this first live stream. In this live stream, I will be making a data visualization, and I will show you the process that I go through. And if you're looking to expand this skill set, then you should be able to follow along. All the software that I use is either open source or free to use, so there's really no barrier there. So the goal of this live stream is to make a data visualization for social media that compares the sizes of the economies of the G20 countries. How are we going to do this? So previous posts I've made, I've just used the gross domestic product, but a much fairer comparison is when we use the PPP GDP. And the PPP stands for Purchasing Power Parity, and that means that the GDP has been adjusted for the purchasing power of a particular country. The way they do this is by having a virtual basket of goods and calculate how much of those baskets can a person living in this country buy. So the agenda for today. So this is the process I normally go through. First, we're going to find a data source, and here it's very important that it is a trustworthy data source. And I will be using the World Bank that collects all this kind of data. Then once we have the data, we need to format it to make sure that that we filter based on whether the countries are inside the G20 or outside of the G20. Then I will make a rough design based or a design to effectively show the data, and then I will implement some Python code to generate the visualization. So this was my last slide. So let's jump into the actual content. So let me find the data. So we want to find the World Bank database, and usually you can just Google that. And then we want this is the site of the World Bank, and it's really great. There's data on so many different things, and it is just accessible for everyone. But in this case, we want to get the data on GDP per capita, and then we want the PPP one. And yeah, so remember, the PPP means it has been adjusted for purchasing power in the different countries. So let's select that one. And here you can already see what this data looks like for the world. So you see some interesting things in the graph. So for instance, here, when there was the global financial crisis, we have a little bump here. And again, when we had the first year of Corona. But we're actually interested in this data for the different countries. So let's see. I believe if I download this CSV file, is that I get this data split in the different countries. So let's see when I open this first one. And yeah, that's correct. So here, those are all the countries in the world. It also includes some regions, and it shows what the data is, but it has many rows. All right. So we see that the data starts in 1960s and then all the way until 2021. I also see that actually the data starts only in 1990. So let's save this in our working directory so we can do something with it. So this is my working directory. GDP PPP data, and we can save this as an Excel file. That makes it a bit easier to work with. And I will rename this to the raw data, and here I can select this and copy the data to be formatted. All right, so we see there are a couple of problems with this. Sometimes you want to write some code to format this, but in this case I will just do everything manually. So now I only have the data from 1990 all the way to 2021. And now what we want to do is find all the countries that are in the G20. So let's see. I think the easiest thing to do is just Google G20 countries, and let's see if this official site has a convenient list. Yes, they do. All right, so let's put this side by side. Again, if you want to do this more than once, then it might be worth spending some time to automate this, so to write some code, maybe with pandas or a VBA macro. But let's say we want to do it manually now. All right. So the first country is Argentina. So we want to let's just not remove them just yet, but let's give them a specific color. So let's see. It's too small. Okay, so that's the first one. Australia, of course. Second one, Brazil, should be here. Canada, China, France, here, Germany, maybe it's easier to just search. So this, it's ordered alphabetically, but not really. So let me just add a quick filter and let's order it alphabetically again. So from A to Z. Okay, that's much better. So we have China, France, Germany. Then we have India, of course. They are in the G20. India, Indonesia, Italy, a lot of I's. Japan. Oh, I missed it. I'm really bad in these kind of tasks. So normally I would just say just spend some extra time to automate it, and then you can reuse it in the future. But let's keep it simple for now. Let's see, where is Russia? Russian Federation. I think it's called Russian Federation because it includes the USSR and Russia. So USSR before 91 and Russia as we know it today after that. Saudi Arabia. And then we have South Africa, of course, Turkey. Might be that it is spelled, yeah, different way. Turkey. I'm just renaming it because down the line it makes it easier to add icons, for example. And then we have the United Kingdom and the United States, and the EU is actually also as a whole member. European Union. Here. All right, so we should have 20 columns highlighted now. So let's just remove the ones that I haven't. It's probably a better way of doing this, but let's see. Actually, European Union. All right, so we have 18. It's not 20. Let's see which ones I missed. Canada, China, France, Germany, India, Indonesia, Italy, Japan, Mexico, Mexico and Korea. Let's just copy it from this sheets. Mexico. And the other one is Korea. I think it should be this one. We can actually see the value. Yes, that must be it. All right. And let's remove all the unwanted columns. Yeah, so this is the boring part actually. Right, and now I can copy this and paste it here. And if I am not mistaken, this is the same length. So yeah, now we have all the data we need. And let's remove the colors, and let's actually wonder why there's no data for Canada before, which year is this? 97. All right, so we have the data now. So we have formatted the data. We have found a data source. Actually, the script that I use expects the data to be transposed, so I can easily transpose it. So the year is the first column, and then the headings are the different countries plus the EU. A lot of people, I don't know, get very emotional when I include the European Union in those kind of visualizations, but yeah, they are just as a whole part of the G20. All right, cool. So we have the data now. So let's just rename this formatted data. And now we can start thinking about the data visualization. So let me close this and open this. So what I wanted to do is make a bar race. So that's a classical social media data animation. And yeah, let's just get going. Okay, so I have the data, and this is my working directory. So let's put the data in a separate folder and place it there. All right. So the way I normally make my data visualizations is using Python. So let's create our own Python file. GDP PPP. And of course it has to be a py file, .py. Right. Let's just take a quick look. Is this still going? Yes. Okay, good. Right. Let's open the Python file. It is empty. A py file is just a text file. And let's see what we want to do. So to make my visualizations, I normally use my own library that I publish. So if you want to take a look at that, you can take a look at github.com. Well, actually, yes. SJ. Yeah, this is what it is called. And okay, I can't find it on Google. This is my website. And there, if you go to software, you should be able to find it. Okay, so this is a link to GitHub. And here you can find and download the software. And if you go into the dist folder, you can download this wheel file, and you can install that using pip. So download here, and then use pip install that file, and then you should be good to go. But I've already done that. So if I want to use this library in Python, I need to first import it. So if I say import SJ visualizer and save this, I can print it. There's no error, so that means it finds it successfully. All right. So what do we want to do next? So let's see. So I never remember where to start, but luckily if I go back to my GitHub, I have a couple of examples. So normally you would never start from zero, right? So normally you would start from something that's already there, but let's start from zero just for the sake of it. All right, at the top of this file, we specify which modules we want to import. It is good practice just to have a main function. So with def, you define a function, and in Python, the function runs until there's no indentation anymore. It is also good practice or a standard that if you want to run the file itself, you can say if main, I can't remember this. I guess it's also here, this one is, yeah, that's one. Okay. Yeah, so this says if you run this file, it will run the main code. So let me just pause here and see if that's still working. Yes, okay, good. So the first step we want to do is we want to create a canvas. So let's see in the example how we did that again. So we can define a canvas like that, and that's basically the setup to which we will draw all of our visual elements. And once we have our canvas, we can run our code. But let's actually first import the data. So so first we want to load the data into a pandas data frame. And I've made a little helper class to make it a bit easier to work with. And our file is called GDP, probably. Let's see. Data GDP, yeah, okay. Right, so that's our file. And we want to load it into our data frame. Let's see if that runs successfully. Yes, number of frames. So because we are making an animation, we have to define the number of frames we want to animate. And the number of frames is basically the duration. So let's say we want to make it a minute, and the frames per second, so FPS, is 60. And then we can say number of frames is duration times FPS times 60, because there are 60 seconds in a minute. Now if I run this, it shoots. Yes, so what it's doing now is it is interpolating this data for each frame. And if I run this again, it will run much faster because it has cached this data in a temporary location. So if I go here, it has created a folder with our data. All right, so we have our data now, and let's run, or let's actually execute the canvas. So if I go back to the example, I can say canvas.play and then FPS. I don't think that will work. No. All right, let's do that in a different way. So for I in, no, let's not do that. Okay, let's actually create a bar graph from this. So if I go back to the example, what we essentially do, if I do this, so when we add a bar graph, we first create the bar graph object, and then we add it as a subplot to the bar to the canvas. So if I remove that for now, a very simple bar, and it should now work, I think. Okay, this needs to go first. All right. Yeah. So this is the first result. So we are displaying, I believe 10 bars by default, and yeah, it basically used the entire screen. So let's see what we can do to improve this. Let's say we want to increase the, or let's say we want to show every single bar. So if we say number of bars is 20, because we have 20 data points, we should be able to see every single bar in our visualization. Exactly. So now we see a much nicer version of this. But there's a bit, I don't know, there are some issues with this. For example, the colors now are quite random. It's also a bit harder to read, and the bar doesn't fill the entire screen. We also want to use this animation for social media, and that means that if you want to post to Instagram, for example, that means that we want a square aspect ratio. So let's work on that. I find it easy to first draw our working area, if you will. And we can use standard tkinter functionality for that. Tkinter is a library, or the standard GUI library for Python. So if you want to add more visual elements, it might be nice to use. Right. So let's go back to the example here. And here I think I draw a square. Yes. And my screen resolution is 4040p. So let's say let's run this again. And now we see we have a nice, I don't know, square around our working area. All right. So that's quite nice, but the bar race doesn't fit at all inside the working area at the moment. So let's fix that. So there are optional arguments here, which is x, pos, and y, pos. So let's say our x position is 0 and our y position is 0 as well. So let's see what happens now. All right. So it's entirely at the top of the screen, so we don't actually want that, but it has shifted to the left, to the upper left corner. One thing when you're working with computer graphics is that the top left corner is always the origin. So that means if you specify a coordinate of 0, 0, as we just did, that means that it will be I don't know, pointing to, or starting in that corner. Okay, let's try to fix this. So the x position looks alright, so that's in this direction, but it's completely stuck at the top. So let's shift it down a bit. So let's say we want to start it at 200 pixels down. All right, that's much better, and it will also give us some space to add a title. Okay, let's go back. The y position seems all right. X position also. The only thing that's not great is that it's not not high enough. So there's another argument that we can add, and that's the height. Let's actually first fix this. So that is outside of our working area. All right. So there's another argument, which is height. And that defines the height in pixels of our graph. So let's say, okay, we start 200 down, then let's say we want to have, I don't know, 100 at the bottom. So let's add 1100 here. It can actually be a little bit higher still. So let's try 1200. So one thing to note here is that once you have set up this this example, you can reuse it for different data. So if I want to reuse it for different data, I can just point it to a different Excel file and you're off to go. All right. So the next issue is that it is too wide. Just as we can specify the height, we can also specify the width. So let's go back to our scripts and let's add our width. And let's say, I don't know, this is just a wild guess of 1000. Okay, so that's not wide enough. So let's say 1500 maybe. That's a little too wide. So let's go back 1400. All right, that looks about right. Let's actually 13, 15 and let's shift it a bit more to the right. Did I do that correctly? What did I do? Okay. With 1350 and maybe 300. I'm editing the wrong value. Okay, this should be better. All right, that looks not too bad. All right, so we are showing all the bars. The positioning starts to look all right. But still, we every time we run it, we have quite some random colors. So let's try to resolve that as well. So there's an argument just called colors, and that takes a dictionary. And a dictionary in Python is an object that combines keys with values. In this case, the key is the name of the country, and the value is the RGB color value you want to use. I've actually prepared a JSON file for this already, so let's just use that one. If I go here, I can reuse this bit. So what I do here is I load a file that's called colors.json, and here I can specify that I want to do that. If I run this now, it will error because this file doesn't exist yet. So let me go to my working directory colors, and let's actually copy it from here. So this is the directory I normally work in, and this file contains all the RGB values of all the categories I've ever worked with. So there should be a European Union RGB, which is bluish, and there should be a India RGB value, which is a bit orange. So let's see what the difference is now. All right, that looks much nicer. So each country now has approximately their national color. There are a couple of things we can do to make this even more engaging. First of all, we are missing a time reference. So normally in those kind of posts, there should be a a timestamp at the top bottom right. So let's add that as well. Here at the top, we import the date part of the module, and we can use that to add our timestamp. So let's do that here. So date is date.date, and that takes a couple of arguments. So it takes the canvas as well because it needs to draw to it. It takes the data frame, which contains the dates, and time indicator. So that defines whether it should display the year, the month, or the date or the day. And let's say we want to display the year here, and we should also add this to our canvas. So date. All right. So by default, it fills the entire screen. So what we didn't do is set a location, so X position, Y position, and we didn't set the width and the height. So let's resolve that. So the width, let's actually set that to 0 because that's kind of ignored. But the height is very important because that defines the size of the font. So let's say, let's start with 100. And then X position is 1000 and Y position is also 1000. This is just a first guess. And again, this might look quite fiddly. However, you typically only do this once. So once this is set up, we can keep reusing this over and over. All right. It is a bit small, so let's make it a bit bigger, and it might be nicer to add it a bit lower. All right, and a bit more to the right. All right, that looks good. I don't like it like that it's actually this black. So what I want to do, just to make it a bit more easy on your eyes, I want to make it gray. So to make it gray, we can set the font color, and this is also an RGB value. So this RGB value corresponds to gray. So let's see how that looks. Yes, that looks all right. All right, we are getting there. The next part is to maybe include a title, or Another thing we can do is we can add the images for the flags. So let's see. Let's start with the title. Title can be added in a very similar way as what we've done before. So title, in this case, we want to import an additional thing. So from SJ Visualizer, import static text. And a static text is what we can use to easily draw texts to the visualization. So static text dot static text, and this is also a kind of a subplot, so it always requires the same input. Probably doesn't require data frame, but we can set the text. So what we can do is we can set the title here, and let's just see what happens. And we need to add it to the canvas as well. So canvas.add subplot title. And that should be it. Okay, so we have title here, but again, we didn't specify the location or the size, so it defaulted to filling the entire screen, which is probably not what we want. So let's say we want the width to be 0 again. We don't want to deal with that. Height, maybe 100. And the anchor says where it should be anchored to, so that defines whether it should be centered on the left, on the right, or in the middle. So I want it to be centered to the left. So that means I need to specify the W there, and that means in the west. So this is the wind direction. And then we want to specify the location. So the X position, let's start with 100, Y position, also 100. And let's see where this title ends up. All right, that's not too bad. It might be a bit low, so let's make it a bit higher. So let's put this to 50. Let's see what happens here. That looks quite good actually. And here we can now define our title. So GDP per Capita PPP. Let's see what that looks like. PPP. That looks quite nice. But maybe we want to actually center it. So if I specify C here and add the X to our total width divided by 2, it should center it. Yes. Okay. So this is the, I don't know, kind of a workable visualization now. And the last thing that I will do in this live stream is add flag icons to this visualization. And the way we do this is by creating a images folder. So if I go back to my example here, go here, I can create an images folder. Okay, that's not included there, but there should be images. And again, what I will do is I will just copy some images from the library of images that I already have. But this just shows the process. So let's go back to my normal working directory. It's called assets actually. So let's go to assets. Oh, that's already created. Okay. Now I remember. Okay. So when you run the code, it will automatically create a folder called assets, and we can just drop PNG images in there. So let's say United States. And let's order this. Okay, United States, United Kingdom. And if I rerun this, it will automatically pick up those two images. So now I have a flag here and a flag there. So that's quite nice. So let's just quickly copy them all, or copy the relevant ones. So let's see, Saudi Arabia, and Canada. Okay, maybe I should have prepared this better. Australia. European Union. At the moment, it only works with PNG images, by the way. What was it? Japan, India, and what else? My memory isn't great. All right. So now I have this. Let me add this here and this one here. Okay, that makes it much easier. So we have Germany. We have Italy. We have France. We have Korea. So this is South Korea. And let me change that in the data as well. Actually, okay, let me do that later. Turkey is here. Then Mexico. Then Argentina. Then Russia. Let me also just call it Russia instead of Russian Federation. Brazil. South Africa. Indonesia. Here. India. China. All right. So now we should have all of them, and let me change the names here for a bit. So Russia, let's just call it Russia, just make it simple. And which one? Korean Republic. Let's use South Korea. All right, let's rerun this. So because I changed the file now, it will recache the changes. And this looks quite nice. There's a small issue here that because we added the image, it's a bit too close to the border. So let's fix that quickly. So our chart type has a X and Y position. So let's shift it a bit to the left. Let's see if that's too much or that's right. That looks all right. All right. So in this live stream, so let's see how long are we going now? Almost an hour. So in almost an hour, we've created a nice data visualization. Nothing too amazing, but it gets the job done. So all the everything that I used here is open source and free, so you should be able to replicate it. Before closing, I will add this code to the GitHub repository with examples. I will link it, and yeah. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed it. This is the first time I made a live stream, so hopefully it was watchable and understandable. Yeah, thanks.